lost it completely in a stall at Nell's, my mouth foaming. All I could think about were insects. Lots of insects, and running at pigeons, foaming at the mouth and running at pigeons. Phoenix. Janet Leigh was from Phoenix. I stall, then continue. She got stabbed in the shower. Disappointing scene. I pause. Blood looked fake. Listen, Patrick, Lewis says, pressing his handkerchief into my hand, my fingers clenched into a fist that relaxes at Lewis's touch. Dibble and I are having lunch next week at the Yale Club. Would you like to join us? Sure. I think about Courtney's legs spread and wrapped around my face. And when I look over at Lewis in one brief flashing moment, his head looks like a talking vagina. And it scares the bejesus out of me, moves me to say something while mopping the sweat off my brow. That's a nice suit, Lewis. The farthest thing from my mind. He looks down as if stunned, and then blushing, embarrassed, he touches his own lapel. Thanks, Pat. You look great, too, as usual. And when he reaches out to touch my tie, I catch his hand before his fingers make it, telling him, your compliment was sufficient. Reed Thompson walks in, wearing a wool-plaid, 4-button, double-breasted suit and a striped cotton shirt and a silk tie. All Armani. Plus slightly tacky blue cotton socks by Interwoven. And black Ferragamo cap-toe shoes that look exactly like mine, with a copy of the Wall Street Journal held in a nicely manicured fist, and a Bill Kaiserman tweed Balmacan overcoat draped casually across the other arm. He nods and sits across from us at the table. Soon after, Todd Broderick walks in, wearing a wool chalk-striped, 6-button, double-breasted suit, and a striped broadcloth shirt, and silk tie, all by Polo, plus an affected linen pocket square that I'm fairly sure is also by Polo. McDermott walks in next, carrying a copy of this week's New York magazine and this morning's Financial Times, wearing new non-prescription Oliver Peoples redwood-framed glasses, a black and white wool houndstooth check single-breasted suit with notch lapels, a striped cotton dress shirt with spread collar, and a silk paisley tie, all of it designed and tailored by John Rail. I smile, raising my eyebrows at McDermott, who sullenly takes the seat next to mine. He sighs and opens the newspaper, silently reading. Since he hasn't offered a hello or good morning, I can tell that he's pissed off, and I suspect that it has something to do with me. Finally, sensing that Lewis is about to ask something, I turn to McDermott. So, McDermott, what's wrong? I smirk. Long line at the Stairmaster this morning? Who said anything's wrong? He asks, sniffing, turning pages in the Financial Times. Listen, I tell him, leaning in. I already apologized about yelling at you because of the pizza at Pastel's the other night. Who said it was about that? He asked tensely. I thought we already cleared this up, I whisper, gripping the arm of his chair, smiling over at Thompson. I'm sorry I insulted the pizzas at Pastel's. Happy? Who said it was about that? He asks again. Then what is it, McDermott? I whisper, noticing movement behind me. I count to 3, then whirl around, catching Lewis leaning toward me, trying to eavesdrop. He knows he's been caught, and he sinks slowly back into his chair, guilty. McDermott, this is ridiculous, I whisper. You can't stay angry at me because I think the pizza at Pastel's is crusty. Brittle, he says, shooting me a glance. The word you used was brittle. I apologize, I say, but I'm right. It is. You read the review in the Times, right? Here. He reaches into his pocket and hands me a Xeroxed article. I just wanted to prove you wrong. Read this. What is it? I ask, opening the folded page. It's an article on your hero, Donald Trump. McDermott grins. It sure is, I say apprehensively. Why didn't I ever see this, I wonder? And McDermott scans the article and points an accusatory finger at the bottom paragraph, which he's highlighted in red ink. Where does Donald Trump think the best pizza in Manhattan is served? Let me read this, I sigh, waving him away. You might be wrong. What a lousy photo. Bateman, look. I circled it, he says. I pretend to read the fucking article, but I'm getting very angry, and I have to hand the article back to McDermott and ask, thoroughly annoyed, so what? What does it mean? What are you, McDermott, trying to tell me? What do you think of the pizza at Pastel's now, Bateman? He asks smugly. Well, I say, choosing my words carefully, I think I have to go back and retaste the pizza. I'm saying this through gritted teeth. I'm just suggesting that the last time I was there, the pizza was brittle, McDermott offers. Yeah, I shrug. Brittle. Uh-huh. McDermott smiles, triumphant. Listen, if the pizza at Pastel's is okay with Donnie, I start, hating to admit this to McDermott, then sighing almost unintelligibly, it's okay with me. McDermott cackles gleefully, a victor. I count 3 silk crepe ties, 1 Versace silk satin woven tie, 2 silk foulard ties, 1 silk Kenzo, 2 silk jacquard ties. The fragrances of Xerius and Tuscany and Armani and Obsession and Polo and gray flannel and even Antaeus mingle, wafting into each other, rising from the suits and into the air, forming their own mixture, a cold, sickening perfume. But I'm not apologizing, I warn McDermott. You already have, Bateman, he says. Paul Owen walks in, wearing a cashmere one-button sports jacket, tropical wool flannel slacks, a button-down, tab-collared shirt by Ronaldo Shamask, but it's really the tie, blue and black and red and yellow bold stripes, from Andrew Fetza by Zanzara, that impresses me. Carruthers gets excited, too, and he leans into my chair and asks, if I'm listening correctly, do you think he has a powered jockstrap to go along with that thing? When I don't answer, he retreats, opens one of the Sports Illustrateds that sit in the middle of the table, and humming to himself, starts to read an article on Olympic divers. Hello, Halberstam, Owen says, walking by. Hello, Owen, I say, admiring the way he styled and slicked back his hair with a part so even and sharp it devastates me. And I make a mental note to ask him where he purchases his hair care products, which kind of mousse he uses. My final guess after mulling over the possibilities being 10x. Greg McBride walks in and stops by my chair. Did you watch the winter show this morning? Riot. Total riot. And we give each other high five before he takes a seat between Dibble and Lloyd. God knows where they came from. Kevin Forrest, who walks in with Charles Murphy, is saying, my call waiting is busted. Felicia screwed it up somehow. I'm not even paying attention to what they're wearing. But I find myself staring at Murphy's vintage owl cufflinks with blue crystal eyes. Video store, then D'Agostino's. I'm wandering around Video Visions, the video rental store near my apartment on the Upper West Side, sipping from a can of Diet Pepsi, the new Christopher Cross tape blaring from the earphones of my Sony Walkman. After the office, I played racquetball with Montgomery, then had a shiatsu massage and met Jesse Lloyd, Jamie Conway, and Kevin Forrest for drinks at Rusty's on 73rd Street. Tonight, I'm wearing a new wool topcoat by Ungaro Uomo, Paris, and carrying a Bottega Veneta briefcase and an umbrella by Georges Gaspar. The video store is more crowded than usual. There are too many couples in line for me to rent She-Male Reformatory or Ginger's Cunt without some sense of awkwardness or discomfort. Plus, I've already bumped into Robert Ailes from First Boston in the horror aisle, or at least I think it was Robert Ailes. He mumbled, "Hello, MacDonald," as he passed me by, holding Friday the 13th, Part 7, and a documentary on abortions in what I noticed were nicely manicured hands, marred only by what looked to me like an imitation gold Rolex. Since pornography seems out of the question, I browse through light comedy and, feeling ripped off, settle for a Woody Allen movie, but I'm still not satisfied. I want something else. I pass through the rock music section. Nothing. Then find myself in horror comedy. Ditto. and suddenly I'm seized by a minor anxiety attack. There are too many fucking movies to choose from. I duck behind a promotional cardboard display for the new Dan Aykroyd comedy and take 2 5-milligram Valiums, washing them down with a Diet Pepsi. Then, almost by rote, as if I've been programmed, I reach for Body Double, a movie I have rented 37 times, and walk up to the counter where I wait for 20 minutes to be checked out by a dumpy girl, 5 pounds overweight, dry, frizzy hair. She's actually wearing a baggy, nondescript sweater, definitely not designer, probably to hide the fact that she has no tits. And even though she has nice eyes, so fucking what? Finally, it's my turn. I hand her the empty boxes. "Is this it?" she asks, taking my membership card from me. I'm wearing my Mario Valentino Persian black gloves. My Video Visions membership costs only $250 annually. "Do you have any Jamie Gertz movies?" I ask her, trying to make direct eye contact. "What?" she asks, distracted. "Any movies that Jamie Gertz is in." "Who?" She enters something into the computer and then says without looking at me, "How many nights?" "3, I say. "Don't you know who Jamie Gertz is?" "I don't think so." She actually sighs. "Jamie Gertz," I say. "She's an actress." "I don't think I know who you mean," she says in a tone that suggests I'm harassing her. But hey, she works in a video rental store. And since it's such a demanding, high-powered profession, her bitchy behavior is completely reasonable, right? The things I could do to this girl's body with a hammer, the words I could carve into her with an ice pick. She hands the guy behind her my boxes, and I pretend to ignore his horrified reaction as he recognizes me after he looks at the Body Double box. But he dutifully walks into some kind of vault in the back of the store to get the movies. "Yeah, sure you do," I say good-naturedly. "She's in those Diet Coke commercials. You know the ones." "I really don't think so," she says in a monotone that almost cuts me off. She types the names of the movies and then my membership number into the computer. "I like the part in Body Double where the woman gets drilled by the power driller in the movie. The best," I say, almost gasping. It seems very hot in the video store right now all of a sudden. And after murmuring, "Oh, my God," under my breath, I place a gloved hand on the counter to settle it from shaking. And the blood starts pouring out of the ceiling. I take a deep breath, and while I'm saying this, my head starts nodding of its own accord, and I keep swallowing, thinking, I have to see her shoes. And so, as inconspicuously as possible, I try to peer over the counter to check out what kind of shoes she's wearing, but maddeningly, they're only sneakers. Not K-Swiss, not Tretorn, not Adidas, not Reebok, just cheap ones. "Sign here." She hands me the tapes without even looking at me, refusing to recognize who I am. And breathing in hard and exhaling, she motions for the next in line, a couple with a baby. On the way back to my apartment, I stop at D'Agostino's, where for dinner I buy 2 large bottles of Perrier, a 6-pack of Coke Classic, a head of arugula, 5 medium-sized kiwis, a bottle of tarragon balsamic vinegar, a tin of creme fraiche, a carton of microwave tapas, a box of tofu, and a white chocolate candy bar I pick up at the checkout counter. Once outside, ignoring the bum lounging below the Les Miserables poster, and holding a sign that reads, "I've lost my job, I am hungry, I have no money, please help," whose eyes tear after I pull the tease the bum with a dollar trick and tell him, "Jesus, will you get a fucking shave, please?" My eyes, almost like they were guided by radar, focus in on a red Lamborghini Countach parked at the curb, gleaming beneath the street lamps. And I have to stop moving, the Valium shockingly, unexpectedly kicking in. Everything else becomes obliterated. The crying bum, the black kids on crack rapping along to the blaring beatbox, the clouds of pigeons flying overhead looking for space to roost, the ambulance sirens, the honking taxis, the decent-looking babe in the Betsy Johnson dress. All of that fades, and in what seems like time-lapse photography, but in slow motion like a movie. The sun goes down, the city gets darker, and all I can see is the red Lamborghini. and all I can hear is my own even, steady panting. I'm still standing, drooling, in front of the store, staring. Minutes later, I don't know how many. Facial. I leave the office at 4:30, head up to Exclusive where I work out with free weights for an hour, then taxi across the park to Gio's and the Pierre Hotel for a facial, a manicure, and if time permits, a pedicure. I'm lying on the elevated table in one of the private rooms waiting for Helga, the skin technician, to facialize me. My Brooks Brothers shirt and Garrick Anderson suit hang in the closet. My A. Testoni loafers sit on the floor. $30 socks from Barney's balled up in them. $60 boxer shorts from Comme des Garçons are the only article of clothing I'm still wearing. The smock I'm supposed to have on is crumpled next to the shower stall since I want Helga to check my body out, notice my chest, see how fucking buff my abdominals have gotten since my last time here, even though she's much older than I am, maybe 30 or 35, and there's no way I'd ever fuck her. I'm sipping a Diet Pepsi that Mario, the valet, brought me, with crushed ice in a glass on the side that I asked for but don't want. I pick up today's Post that hangs from a Smithley Watson glass magazine rack and scan the gossip columns, and then my eye catches a story about recent sightings of these creatures that seem to be part bird, part rodent, essentially pigeons with the heads and tails of rats, found deep in the center of Harlem and now making their way steadily toward Midtown. A grainy photograph of one of these things accompanies the article, but experts, the Post assures us, are fairly certain this new breed is a hoax. As usual, this fails to soothe my fear, and it fills me with a nameless dread that someone out there has wasted the energy and time to think this up, to fake a photograph and do a half-assed job at that. The thing looks like a fucking Big Mac, and send the photograph into the Post, then for the Post to decide to run the story, meetings, debates, last-minute temptations to cancel the whole thing, to print the photograph, to have someone write about the photo and interview the experts, finally, to run this story on page 3 in today's edition and have it discussed over hundreds of thousands of lunches in the city this afternoon. I close the paper and lie back, exhausted. The door to the private room opens, and a girl I haven't seen before walks in. And through half-closed eyes, I can see that she's young, Italian, okay-looking. She smiles, sitting in a chair at my feet, and begins the pedicure. She switches off the ceiling light, and except for strategically placed halogen bulbs shining down on my feet, hands, and face, the room darkens, making it impossible to tell what kind of body she has, only that she's wearing gray suede and black leather buttoned ankle boots by Maud Frisson. The Patty Winters show this morning was about UFOs that kill. Helga arrives. "Ah, Mr. Bateman," Helga says. "How are you?" "Very good, Helga," I say, flexing the muscles in my stomach and chest. My eyes are closed, so it looks casual, as if the muscles are acting on their own accord and I can't help it. But Helga drapes the smock gently across my heaving chest and buttons it up, pretending to ignore the undulations beneath the tan, clean skin. "You're back so soon," she says. "I was only here 2 days ago," I say, confused. "I know, but—" She stalls, washing her hands in the sink. "Never mind." "Helga?" I ask. "Yes, Mr. Bateman." Walking in here, I spotted a pair of men's gold-tasseled loafers from Bergdorf Goodman, waiting to be shined outside the door of the next room. "Who do they belong to?" I ask. "That's Mr. Erlanger," she says. "Mr. Erlanger from Lehman's?" "No, Mr. Erlanger from Solomon Brothers," she says. Did I ever tell you that I want to wear a big yellow smiley face mask and then put on the CD version of Bobby McFerrin's Don't Worry, Be Happy, and then take a girl and a dog, a collie, a chow, a Sharpie, it doesn't matter, and then hook up this transfusion pump, this IV set, and switch their blood, pump the dog's blood into the hard body and vice versa. Did I ever tell you this? While I'm speaking, I can hear the girl working on my feet, humming one of the songs from Les Miserables to herself. And then Helga runs a moistened cotton ball across my nose, leaning close to the face, inspecting the pores. I laugh maniacally, then take a deep breath and touch my chest, expecting a heart to be thumping quickly, impatiently. But there's nothing there, not even a beat. "Shh, Mr. Bateman," Helga says, running a warm loofah sponge over my face, which stings, then cools the skin. "Relax." "Okay," I say. "I'm relaxing." "Oh, Mr. Bateman," Helga croons, "you have such a nice complexion. How old are you, may I ask?" "I'm 26. "Ah, that's why. It's so clean, so smooth," she sighs. "Just relax."